Welcome back, Care Partners. Ever had a moment with your loved one with dementia in which they will not cooperate? You know that they need the help, but they are digging in their heels. You've tried to remain patient, all the things I've taught you, good job. You've even tried to bribe, not one of the things I taught you, and still nothing will work. Well, that's okay, Care Partners, because today I'm going to show you 3 effective ways to handle refusal of care without the stress, without the power struggle, without the frustration. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to approach resistance in a way that keeps things calmer and more cooperative. So let's jump in. Oh, I didn't introduce myself. For those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Dr. Sinclair. I'm a neuropsychologist and dementia care expert. The first way to handle resistance from your loved one with dementia is to first realize why refusals are happening in the first place. It's a very common symptom of dementia. Sometimes the refusal is rooted in disorientation. Sometimes it's rooted in confusion. Your loved one just doesn't know where to start. I want for you to imagine it's like waking someone up from a deep sleep and then asking them to do a really complex task. They're going to be a little dazed and confused. They're going to be disoriented. That's kind of what it's like with someone who has dementia and you've given them a task. They are going to be just as disoriented, even if it's a simple task. A dementia-affected brain, it's figuring out things slowly. It's making decisions slowly. So when you're asking your loved one to do something and they're just standing there, or they seem dazed, or they flat out say no because they're so frustrated, it's oftentimes rooted in a bit of disorientation and confusion. Sometimes they don't even know where to start. They just get annoyed and then get angry with you. Their brains, Care Partners, need a moment to adjust to what you're asking. It needs a moment to process. It needs a moment to feel comfortable with the task that you're asking them to do. Refusing care, Care Partners, may also result from perceptual changes to the brain. What do I mean by that? Care Partners, we take in the world around us through our 5 senses, right? What we see, smell, taste, etc. The brain is processing all of that information. A brain with dementia sometimes misperceives that information. And so what might feel like a gentle stream of water against your skin now feels like stabbing pains to your loved one with dementia. Can you imagine? I mean, it's just horrible. Your brain is playing these horrific tricks on you. So it's gentle to you, but they feel a different experience. Or a normal bathtub that you will step into now looks like a never-ending pit to your loved one. Again, can you imagine stepping into the bathtub and it looks like a bottomless pit? You're not going in there. I wouldn't go in there. And that's why they're not going in there. Okay, they're refusing because of those perceptual changes. Those perceptual changes also then bring about anxiety and terror and fear. And so your loved one becomes scared of certain activities. And even changes to the brain already makes your loved one susceptible to extreme mood changes. So all of that together is causing your loved one to refuse care. Refusing care can also be the result of anosognosia, whereby your loved one is losing the awareness of what they can and can no longer do. So all 3 car accidents that they had in the past month, it's not their fault. They're great drivers. It's all the other people on the road. They don't know what they're doing because in their mind, they're still a great driver. Your loved one with dementia, Care Partners, they are not trying to be difficult. They're not trying to drive you to the edge. They truly have lost awareness of what they can and can no longer do. And even if they know, oh, I know I have a little trouble with this or that, while they're doing the task, they still think they're doing it okay. So sometimes they have no awareness whatsoever, or sometimes they'll have a general awareness that they're losing skill and ability, but while they're doing the task, they still think in the moment they're doing pretty well. And so that can also lead to refusing and resistance because they think they're doing it fine. In fact, as dementia progresses, Care Partners, in most clients, you will notice that your loved one starts to even lose awareness of thirst and hunger, and that leads to whole other issues that you'll encounter. And I think I'll go ahead and make a video on that so that you're prepared for it as well. But in keeping with this video, I can go on and on, Care Partners, of the real true reasons physiological changes to the brain that leads to your loved one resisting care. But we are just going to stick to the few that I discussed already. Disorientation and confusion, so those cognitive changes, perceptual disturbances, emotions that come up oftentimes because of the perceptual disturbances, and then also anosognosia. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now that you know 4 of the culprits as to why your loved one is resisting, here's what you can do about it. So the first way to handle refusals and resistance is to shift your mindset, care partners. I hope by just going through some of these biological changes in the brain that you are able to recognize, when I thought Mom was being annoying, no, she wasn't. Wow, she's probably seeing something far different from what I'm seeing and experiencing. So I hope that by reviewing that, care partners, that is allowing you to shift your mindset a little bit about the expectations that you have for your loved one with dementia. Maybe they're not refusing to be a pain in your butt. Maybe they're refusing because of these physiological changes in the brain that's occurring. The next way to handle refusals and resistance, care partners, is to slow down. Really slow it down for a dementia-affected brain. Their brains are disoriented and confused. Again, think your kiddo that you woke up and gave a complex task. It's disoriented. And so you need to slow down and allow your loved one's brain to catch up to whatever it is that you're asking them to do. I know some of the tasks that you're asking seem super simple, and it would have been super simple to your loved one pre-dementia. But now that they have dementia, very minute tasks become overwhelming and confusing. And so slowing it down at a pace that they can catch up to leads to them being very successful. On that note, care partners, what I have recognized with a lot of my patients and their families is that because your loved one now is moving slower or struggling to initiate the task, a lot of family members remove the task. So if your loved one used to get dressed in the morning by themselves and they are just sitting on the bed with their clothes lying out there, they're still in their pajamas, oftentimes care partners rush in and then just start to dress their loved ones with dementia. And I really want to caution you against doing that, because the brain with dementia may be going really slow, and it may also need a jump start to get initiated on the task. If you swoop in and just do it, then your loved one's brain doesn't have the practice of doing it. Either you use it or you're going to lose it. So if they are not doing the task, if they're not using these abilities, then they're going to lose it. You may have thought that the ability's already gone, that's why you're trying to help. Not so. The brain might just need that jump start. So in addition to slowing things down to accompany their new processing speed, I also, care partners, want to caution you against removing tasks too quickly. They may need you to just maybe come over and help them with their shirt. And then once they get cued on doing it, you can then take their hand, do the task, button buttons, and then step back and just watch how, boom, the brain then gets activated, they're able to do it. The brain just wasn't able to do it on its own. It needed a bit of a jump start, okay? So slowing down is what you're going to do, but then also you might need to jump start the brain. If you're finding any of this helpful, care partners, then go ahead and comment below, like the video. You can even share it with another care partner who needs these skills as well. So now on to the next technique. Okay, your loved one may be disoriented, they may be confused, they may need a jump start. As well, you may need to demonstrate the task for your loved one. You may need to show them that it's safe. If we go back to the bathtub conversation that we had a little while ago, if your loved one's visual field is seeing that as a bottomless pit, well then perhaps you can step into the bathtub. They may not even know to tell you there's no bottom. They're just looking at it and saying, I'm not getting in there. So you may need to demonstrate. You may need to step in to show it's okay. You may need to gently take their hand so that they can touch the bottom to see that something is there. You may need to sit next to them as you are showering them, just so that you can ease that anxiety that they have, because they may trust you, they may step in, but they're still going to be super terrified. So if you are closer to them, then you can help with the anxiety and the fear that comes up with some of these perceptual disturbances. Demonstrating also has the added benefit of cueing the brain. By demonstrating for your loved one, that can be the visual jumpstart that it needs to go ahead and perform the task. The next strategy to navigating resistance, particularly with anosognosia and your loved one doesn't realize that they're losing skill, it's multifold actually. Because they don't realize that they're losing ability, you'll have to tackle this in lots of different ways. If you were my patient, I would hear what you're struggling with, and then I'd give you specific customized tools. So right now I'm going to give you some general tools and see if you can go ahead and implement them in your unique situation. First and foremost, if your loved one does not realize that they've lost ability, sometimes you don't have to be the bad guy. You can speak to their physician and let them know the concerns that you have for your loved one's safety, and your physician can go ahead and call in certain consults. So that can be an OT, occupational therapy consult for a loved one with dementia who's struggling with driving. There are OTs who go ahead and give out what's called OT evals. Those are evaluations where they are sitting in the car with your loved one with dementia and assessing how they drive. So you can slip a note to the physician letting them know that you're concerned for the loved one's driving, and they can go ahead and put in a consult or referral for your loved one to have an OT exam. And so therefore, it's not you telling your loved one that they can't drive, it's this professional who's now said that they can't drive and who has to alert the DMV about this. So now you get to validate with your loved one, oh, that is so sad, that is terrible, I'm so sorry. You get to be there for your loved one instead of being the bad guy. So with anosognosia, sometimes it's best if you're not the bad guy. Sometimes it's best if you're not the one telling your loved one with dementia that they're losing skill. Could the issue that you're struggling with be delegated to a professional who can manage that? When your loved one with dementia doesn't realize that they've lost ability and skill, you may have to therapeutically fib a little bit. It's called compassionate or therapeutic fibbing, where you may have to tell your loved one with dementia, you are really good with balancing our checkbook, but I've been noticing some errors here with the bank. So can I sit with you as you're doing everything so I can learn how you're doing it as well? Now, care partners, you're not really sitting there to learn how they're doing it. You're sitting there as they're doing it to see the mistakes and errors, and you might have to go back and do it later. But this allows your loved one to feel empowered because they're showing you something, as opposed to them feeling ashamed by you coming to them and saying, hey, you can't do our accounting anymore, so I'm going to take that away from you. Dementia is already robbing them of so much. So for you to come and take another thing away from them, that can be unintentionally so hurtful to them. So you may have to therapeutically fib a little bit in order to allow yourself to do the task with them and not get into a power struggle by just taking it away. There really are a myriad of ways to navigate anosognosia, but it really needs to be customized. So why don't you go ahead and comment below the skill or ability that your loved one with dementia can no longer do, but they just don't even realize. And I'll go ahead and create another video so that you can see how to navigate that. See you in the next one.